Is this the helicopter that's going to tempt flight simmers over to the dark side of rotary-winged aviation in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, it's an iconic design with an international presence. It's big, it's heavily automated, and it comes with plenty of mission potential. It's the MH-60, the naval version of the Black Hawk, and it's brought to life for both MSFS 2020 and 2024 by Miltech Simulations in partnership with Blackbird Simulations. I'm recording this on the 4th of August 2025, and it's already on sale at US $37.99 or your local equivalent. You can purchase through the Miltech website and it'll install through the Contrail app, or you could just purchase through Contrail. Within a week, it should be up on the MSFS Marketplace and therefore available for Xbox users too. And this is a 3-in-1 pack. You get the MH-60 Romeo Seahawk anti-submarine prowess with lots of utility gumption. You get the MH-60 Sierra, sometimes called the Knighthawk, dropping in supplies at sea and wielding missiles too. And you get the MH-60 Tango, the Jayhawk search and rescue variant you might find in Coast Guard service. And as a bonus, 4 mini-sceneries based on real-world MH-60 operations. In this review, I'm going deep. I'll show you the included liveries, we'll take a close look inside and out, we'll hear how it sounds, see how it flies, and I'll take you through every step of MH-60 operations. I can tell you up front, there's lots of stuff working well, and there are some things I hope to see improved. I'll cover all of that. I predict this is going to be a popular package no matter what, but what's the value like by itself? And will you need Miltech's separate mission hub to take true advantage of what the MH-60 offers you? That add-on is US $15.99, and I'll cover the mission hub in its own review. This is a long video. Settle in with some popcorn for the whole thing, or use the chapter markers to get to the stuff you want. This review, I've marked it as sponsored because I was given a copy of the pack for the purposes of review. However, this is not a paid video. I guarantee all opinions within are entirely my own. So, let's get on with it. Let's fly. And let us look what is included in the box, and we'll start with the Romeo. We're going in alphabetical order. The Romeo is, I think, really the heart of this package. The anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, the most heavily armed, most capable of the three, I would suggest. And I'll just flick through the liveries just to give you a sense of what's included. A Korean representative, a Singaporean, lots of different Navy, US Navy varieties. I do love some of these colourful liveries that have been included from real life. Amazing detail on some of those. A Spanish one, we'll take that for a weapons test over the Mediterranean later on in this video. Lots more US Navy operations included here. A Royal Navy variant included there for you. Search and rescue. Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. Excellent. Turkey is included. Denmark and Greece in the Romeo liveries. So the next variant I will tell you about here is the Sierra. Now, the Sierra, you'll notice, has the tail wheel under the tail. So this is a little bit more like the UH-60 Black Hawk layout. So it sits a bit lower to the ground like the Black Hawk because it doesn't have the radar underneath the cockpit section there. And you can see here the VIP transport that the US Marine Corps uses. Yes, this livery is included in the box. White Hawk, as it's called here. You don't get a VIP interior, though. The two interiors included with the Sierra here in this pack are a troop carrier and a vertical replenishment interior. Those represent the two main methods of use inside, at least inside US Navy operations. And so yes, some more Navy operators here of the Sierra. Rather utilitarian livery, that one. A Thai representative. And I think this is one of my favorites here. Beautiful artwork on that one there. Good work. Don't see this every day. A Republic of China, that is Taiwan, represented here in a, looks like a rescue style livery. And if you want something, I suppose, that could be passable as a UH-60 livery on day one, you could have a bit of a spin in that Milviz digital camo one. There has been some talk of a UH-60 livery pack coming for the Sierra, so keep an eye out for that one as well. And the final variant, of course, is the Tango, or the Jayhawk as it is otherwise known. The informal name for the Sierra, just to go back one, is the Knighthawk. That's the Knighthawk with a K. I think possibly a reference to the Sea Knight dual rotor helicopter that it replaced. But yes, let's look at this Jayhawk now and some of the liveries that you get here. These generally are US Coast Guard liveries. I like this. You can't quite see it's cut off there a little bit by these previews. But yes, a Cape Cod representative there with a shark mouth livery, nice. Kodiak, yes, we'll might get a bit of a go at Kodiak here. Kodiak is one of the mini scenery included in your pack. I'm going to show you each of the mini sceneries. And I do like this one with the Big Dipper livery on the nose there of that Coast Guard representative. You can fly this San Diego Coast Guard machine from the included San Diego mini scenery if you so desire. A fictional representative there for Canada if you so desire, and one for the UK as well. So plenty of choice for you right out of the box. And for our first hands-on experience with this MH-60 Romeo Seahawk, I've chosen the Royal Australian Navy livery because here we are off Australia, off the coast of Western Australia. In fact, we find one of the included mini sceneries at Garden Island. So up here, once we get past the real-life weather, we've got this Navy base up here, but Miltech has made this for us, this heliport. This is real life, but they have populated it with some MH-60 specific goodies, which reflects its real life purpose. So yes, a short runway for helicopter operations, but these very smart starting points here. This kind of reflects what they also did with their Chinook package, where they included some starting points and locations that reflected the Chinook's real life purpose. And so here what we've got is some helipads and some helicopter parkings where we can choose to start from. And so why is that useful? Well, if you just want to start it up, choose a helipad. If you want to do a whole startup yourself, choose a helicopter parking. So obviously we're going to choose that. So thanks Miltech for including a real smart setup like that. I think that's really good. Well, welcome to your new Seahawk, and let's start getting some of these covers off. I'll do a proper drone flyby shortly, but let's just start getting some of these covers off. This is the electronic support measures kit. There's 4 of these dotted around. This is a missile launch detector. Let's get these pitot covers off. Lots of ports and covers here. A few little doors. I don't know that any of these switches are operational in here. Wouldn't mind seeing a few more labels on here so that we knew what we're looking at. Right tire, yes, examine, that's all in good condition, thank you. Get these static, I don't think that's a static port cover, that looks more like it could be something to do with the avionics bays and things up there. What's this one up here? Not quite sure. Right, so the engine covers, yes, let's get those free. There's the rescue hoist there, permanently mounted on the side of this one. Here's some more of our electronic support measures set up. We've got a radio antenna here. Now this contraption off the side here is our decoy launch system. There's another one on the opposite side. Got some ports and systems here that we can open and close. These all look like they are connected with the system to fold the tail rotor. Look at that grimy finish on there. That was great. That looks really great. Nose gear tyre. Well, not quite, but close. All right, let's get those chocks out there as well. Good. Another one of those free as well. There's one of our hardware pylons. hard point pylons, I should have said. Static port cover again. Okay, alright, last one of those 4, off you come. And here is one of the party tricks of the machine. That's our multi-spectral targeting system. We can steer that with some key bindings, so I think of that as our forward-looking infrared, but it does more than that. That's the very sophisticated targeting device on our Seahawk. And just to complete our inspection of the exterior, let's just get in close with the drone camera. Thought you might like to see up close the level of detail. You probably got a sense of this when I was walking around, the kind of the, I suppose, the medium resolution on the textures, the painted textures. And I guess the developer's always got to make a choice about the detail budget and how much they want to spend on that, and it's always a performance trade-off as well. I'll show you something that I think saves it a little bit, and that is, I'll just grab the sun, as it were, and move it. Just turn the head tracking off for a second. Let's see if this is actually just going to demonstrate it for you. Notice that when I move the sun there, you can just see quite a lot of detail in the 3D model. And it's, as it were, just look at the way the depressions in the rivets there really help to bring it to life in the absence of, let's say, the highest resolution of textures. I hope it's okay to put it that way. So I think overall the exterior effect is good. And artistically, I think they've done the right thing here with the grimy presentation. I think when you look at these machines close up in real life, and you've certainly seen pictures of these where, you know, these are hard-working machines in very hostile, saline environments, and they don't look fresh and clean out of the factory. No, they do not. They look pretty rough, like this one does, and it's good. This is really good presentation. So, just about this tail rotor. What do you notice about that? It's got a real cant on it. I think it's something like a 20-degree cant. It's a puller rotor, so this is pulling the airflow down to the lower left as we're looking at it from that direction there. And that configuration helped them, I think, save a little bit of weight and space in terms of the. This is common with the Black Hawk, by the way, with the design and the length of the drive system for the tail rotor. Let's look at the detail in here, and it's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's excellent, really. Look at that. That's a superior level of detail. And I always say this, don't I? But I mean, this is an area that is easy to go over lightly, but they have not done that. There's a good level of detail in both modeling and texturing in a part of the aircraft that would be easy to skimp on. You know, I look at that and I just would kind of desire to see that level of texture detail on the rest of the on the rest of the aircraft. But anyway, it's all right. It's looking good back there. Let's just come a bit further forward now. Oh, look at that. That looks really good. Really good. Some leaking material there. That's the hinge where the tail folds in. Really good. Really good. That's the APU outlet there, just below the engine. So here's your APU outlet here, and the engine outlet, of course, above it. On top, these pale devices here, these are the formation lights. We've got GPS receivers here, and communications devices too. And let's look at the modelling in here as well. If that tail rotor was anything to go by, we know that we can expect some pretty good things in here. And look at that. That's quite a complex piece of engineering, isn't it? And represented beautifully here as well. That's really, it's special. I think that's looking really good. Really good, Miltech. I'm a bit uncertain where the collaboration between Blackbird and Miltech starts and ends. I think Blackbird supplied some of the original 3D assets, and maybe some of the underlying systems. Oh, some of the stuff not quite lined up there. I think I can just sort of look away and not dwell too deeply on that, because the a little bit of tearing through there, but because I mean this level of detail, this level of texturing, the materials look really good. This is some good looking stuff up here, and I know we'll have some mechanics who see this and will be very familiar with this machine or similar ones. The very widely used Blackhawk family. Let's just come down as well, have a look down here. Ontinent, I wonder what that might be an abbreviation of. Some wire cutters there on the landing gear strut. There's our multi-mode radar. The landing gear on the Seahawk needs to be a bit higher than the Blackhawk so that it can accommodate this multi-mode radar stowed there. There is our hook. I'm going to be making use of that in this video. I look forward to that. That's quite a fun part of operations on the Seahawk. And this representation of it. Missile detection there. Miltech MH-60 Romeo. Good. Yep. I think there's a lot to like in this exterior model. And just on those lines, not quite lining up on the main rotor, I do notice that there is animation. I'm just demonstrating it now, going forward and back now on the cyclic. There is animation. You can just see it there, animation on the main rotor. That's always an extra bit of effort that not every developer goes to, so I am appreciative of that. I wonder if that might be implicated with those things not lining up, as I observed. And here's the tail rotor, so you can see the tail rotor pitch there moving as well. I'm not quite sure about the movement of that actuator there, whether that's quite realistic. It seems to be moving sort of up and down instead of in and out, but there you go. The pitch of the rotors looks good on the tail rotor there. Excellent. Well, let's just take our drone onto the inside for a quick orientation. I don't think that door with that pylon installed is supposed to open quite that far. I think it's supposed to stop at about there, but anyway, we can overlook that. So there sits our Warfare Systems operator at their console. This screen, once we're all powered up, I think it just doubles one of the screens up front. These buttons and knobs here are visually modeled but not functional. I think in real life this controller here would double some of the crew hover functionality, which is really fun, which actually is modeled. So we're going to have a go at that later on. Here is our Sonobuoy or buoy dispenser. On the outside just now that was covered up with a cover, but we will have a look at that in Spain and the Mediterranean later on. Some rather Spartan furnishings there. Spin around. Yes, you don't expect this to be fitted for luxury, but I think a pretty suitable finish that they have given the interior here. Looking pretty good. As we get to the business end of proceedings here, just to give you a good sense of the geometry of the machine and what they've done here. A rather intimidating looking center console, but I'll be giving you a proper rundown soon over what's important here and what we don't need to be too worried about. And the overhead console too. There's all of that. Lots of fuses modelled visually back here. How can I spin around? Yeah, let's come back here a bit more. Yes, that's better. None of these are functional, but they're all modelled there visually. I think the only switch back here that is modelled is this light switch here that you can have a sort of a night visual goggle effect by putting a green light wash into the cockpit at night, or a white one. So yes, so that is the general overview of the shape and size of the cockpit. Why don't we just use this opportunity to have a real close-up look at the instruments here? This is always a bit of a telling kind of thing to see what sort of level of detail I've gone into here, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We're super close up here, right? So this, you'd have to really lean in. But when you sort of get to this level on the buttons and these key set systems here on the just on the left and right of the view there right now, you can see that we're dealing with a nice little level of detail and a suitable level of wear represented artistically as well, And I think that's looking pretty good. Nice representation there. Miltech and Blackbird, what they have done in the cockpit of this machine. And the general interior too. And what is it like to be sitting here in the best seat in the house? Well, let's first get us some power here so that I get my views right up here. Right, let's get some battery power on. If I turn on external power, it will also do this. It'll give us a generator outside and power us, plug us in. So there it is. Thank you very much. Very effective. So, views. Now, I have yet to meet the developer that agrees with me about what my ideal views are. So with my 4 convenient shortcut keys, I like generally a little bit more zoomed out on my main view. So I've got my Shift F1 zoomed out a bit so I can see down in the lower left. You're going to need this view a lot in the MH-60 because you're going to need to use this key set, which I'll explain more in a minute. You're going to need to use this overhead quite a lot as well. And you are going to want to use back here for some fun stuff later on as well. So those are my Shift F1 to F4 that I have defined. So that's what I like, and that's what I'm sticking with for the time being. So let's get a couple more things powered on here. I'm just deviating from the checklist a bit already. Just get these displays turned on so you can see what things look like when they get going. Does that double up for the... doesn't turn... That's person station on as yet. Okay, so the MSFS tablet does work back here. It's just spectacularly in the way, so I just turn that off immediately. I'd love to be able to turn this bracket off because I do use that lower right window. Anyway, I'm sort of a bit stuck with things like that at the moment. So anyway, by the way, when I try to toggle it back on, I get that effect, but I just use the tab key to bring it back like that. Anyway. Let's just talk a bit about what controls we've got over here. Center console, as I said, looks intimidating. We're not too concerned with the fuses and the like. Fuel management's very simple. We're really only concerned with some boost pumps down here. Most of these other ones are inoperative. Environmental control system, we've got some knobs here for our airflow. Not too worried about that. Key set I'll get to in a minute. Now the center column, radio volume controls and things, not really part of our day-to-day. Some jettison controls for the weapons, I've not really had reason to use those yet. Miscellaneous switches, you can imagine how vital they're going to be. Are they actually, they're not even marked as inoperative, so maybe I should have done some more testing with those. Stabilator. Now the stabilator, by the way, in the MH-60 is automated, so as you can see it's currently angles so that it's going to give us some pitch up on the nose, and so pitch down on the nose I should say. So the machine has a tendency to pitch up, so what they did for low speed operation is they automated it like that so that the nose would pitch down, and as the machine speeds up, and with some other conditions as well, it automatically comes up into a neutral position. So that's all automated, and we just turn it on there like that, and we don't have to think about it too much. We do spend some significant time up here with our automatic flight control system. Controls, although things like the fail advisories, I'm not sure that these are modelled. We are very concerned with things like the hover altitude and the longitudinal and lateral, I should say, velocities. These are fun. So these are important, and we'll be dealing with these very soon. Master weapons arming, yes, we will be using those later on in the Mediterranean. In the Med too, I might give you a demonstration of the blade fold. Blade de-ice, I'm not sure if it's actually modelled or not, but we can turn things on and off there. And so that's the centre stack, okay? And we've got tail wheel unlock. The tail wheel doesn't steer, it's just castering. Although it is animated as though it does steer, if that makes sense. So when I turn the steering axis, the tail wheel does actually look like it steers. But in real life, it's just freewheeling castering, and I can lock it or unlock it. The parking brake, pull it. Yes, that was up, wasn't it? It was set. Anyway, so let's just get up to the overhead panel. Let's just get a bit of backlighting there. I like a bit of backlighting. So we've got lighting controls over here. The windshield wipers do work. We've got some de-icing controls over here. We have lighting controls, formation lights over here, more lighting controls here, exterior lights, and some essential power controls in here, which we'll deal with on the startup, and some power for some systems that we'll deal with as we come to them, but things like the cargo hook that we need to activate and the rescue hoist that we need to activate before we can use it, and that turns on some other sort of logic inside the Miltech simulation, so it turns on other features that we need when we get those things going. So those are all important. And then we've got our condition levers and our fuel crossfeeds over here as well, so we use those as we will learn in the startup. So that is the briefest overview here. So now time to talk about the key set. Now this is an approximation of what the MH-60 Romeo Block 1 key set looks like. This is no longer used in the US Navy or perhaps in other operators either. They use more of looks more like a flight management computer with a sort of a trackball controller that moves around a pointer on this screen over here, the multifunction display. And it's kind of like got a bit of a click contextual menu that sort of pops out to do navigational display functionality over here. But so what they've done, Miltech that is that they've done this approximation of the key set from the Block 1 machines. And they've just done it in such a way that they've brought in some config functionality into here and some sort of cabin layout functionality into here so that you can sort of access it from a menu. Some people put this into what they would call like an EFB or a sort of a tablet controller for their simulated aircraft. Miltech have brought it into here, but they've combined it with some sort of aircraft systems as well, like comm, nav radios, tuning those radios, some flight plan things that we'll look at later on, search patterns, attacks, to deal with weapons. So under cabin, we then get a sub-menu like this. What cabin do we want? Do we want the anti-submarine warfare cabin? Do we want the search and rescue cabin or the vertical replenishment cabin? I'm going to stick with this for now, and I'll show you the other ones later with the other machines. I think that'll suffice for this point. Doors, yes, we can open the pilot door. Doesn't really do much for making that generator as loud as what I would have expected there, opening that up. The hook door, I think, looked like it was already open. Oh, that's actually the interior of the hook door. So if I just now pop back into the main cabin, we can, yes, there it is. We can actually see through to the ground now with that door open there. So that's what that does. So we can close that again. The right main door, I've got a control. Yeah, we can hear that sliding there. That's good. So I'll just close that hook door again. Now it's open, sorry. So yes, so I've got controls here for all of those. Now, did I close all of those doors? Yes, I did. All right, so that's good. And I will introduce the rest of these as we go. I think will be the easiest. So that's how they've done that, which I think brings us to a point where we can start to power this machine up. All right, let's run this before starting engine checklist. The wheel chocks have already been sorted out. The parking brake has been set. We double check that here. That has definitely been set. The tail wheel has been locked. The engine fire T-handles are not movable. They are forward. And so is the APU fire T-handle. The battery switch is already on, and I have already turned on external power. Fire detection test, I turn that on to 1, and we get all these lighting up here, so they are working. And if we look down here, we get a fire warning here as well. That's good. And just popping back up here, we can confirm that the number 2 system also fire. Yes, we're working. That's all good. So off the fire warning system comes. That's great. Now, interior, exterior lights. Why don't I just turn a bit more of those on? Sure, that's all fine, I'm sure. Anti-collision lights. Let's have the lower on as both. Yes, both. Day. Okay. Cargo hook nav. Yes, all right. Cabin dome. I'm fine. Yeah, that's good. All right, so a little bit more instruments. I like those reasonably bright. Okay, good. Right. So, area. The area, apart from our helpful cart there, is clear. the exhaust plugs and pitot. Now, I am in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. If you are in 2020, you'll need to go to config and deal with that in the config page here. I've already done that in the walkaround. Air source ECS switch. The environmental control system is being fed by what? At the moment it's being fed by the engine, not helpful. I'm going to ask for that to be fed by the APU once that gets switched on. Prime fuel pump. Now, where do we want that to go? We want that to be going to the APU is how we want that to be is what we want to be boosted. And so with that in, we also need to just pop down here and turn on the main fuel boosts. That is done. And so with all that done, we can turn on the APU. There it is. Not sure if we get an APU on. That's what we get there. APU on, sure. Okay, and now I can turn on the APU generator on. That comes on there. APU and APU generator are done. APU gen, yes, I think I can get rid of the external power now. So goodbye power card. Thank you very much for your good service. Air source, ECS, yes, that's on APU boost. Maybe I should have waited until then to do it. Sorry, APU. The fuel pump stays there, that's good. Right, flight and mission displays. We have already turned those on. They are all on day. Primary and backup computer power, we turn those... Am I in the right place there? I cannot quite see. So we turn those on, and we turn the embedded GPS and inertial navigation system, we turn all of that on. That is on, that is on. Blade fold master switch comes on, and we make sure that it's on spread. It is. So the blade fold system, I'll demonstrate that maybe in the Mediterranean. That's all good. So that's all correct. So utility hydraulic pump switch is up in the overhead, and that has a sound associated with it. If I can just reach it. There it is. Barometer. Now this is a good point to introduce the universal control knob, which is a multifunction device. Now, what's the best way to get in here? So here on the primary display, I've got a knob up here, which is controlled by, does different things depending on what I've got selected down here. Barometer, I can change the barometer, which I'm going to cheat and just push the common key. The barometer is 3006. The heading bug, I can move around like that. By the way, this does not control any autopilot functionality. You will be doing all of that piloting yourself with your hand, but you do have a bug to help guide you. Decision height. So DH, yes, that is here. I might just put that down to 100. Just as a reference for myself. Course does change the course on the horizontal situation indicator there. Okay, so that is what the universal control knob does. Done. All right, MD systems page. So that is over here, the multifunction display systems page. Yes, well, I think that's what we expect here. Cautions and advisories. Yes, well, I think that's in alignment with the condition that we're currently in. Fuel quantity, we've got 602 and 603 in for a total of 1205. We're not using an external tank. Radar altimeter, I have set the decision height. I'm not going to worry about nav radios on this flight, but I'll do that later on, maybe up in Alaska when I take the Jayhawk for a flight with you. And weapons stores, I'm not going to do that here. I'll do that in the Mediterranean later. Engine start. Is the area still clear? It most certainly is. And we've got our upper and lower beacons on as well, so people notice, stay clear. The doors are all closed as well. So we can turn on the stability augmentation system and the force trim. Now I'm using a non-centering stick, so this is not a huge factor for me. but there is a bit of a write-up in the Miltech's manual to help explain what that does. If that's if you're using a basic controller or an Xbox controller, you might find the force trim helpful. Anything that's not a non-centering controller or doesn't have a hardware force trim, that might just help with your trimming. For me, maybe I'll explain this later, but I've got the normal helicopter cyclic trimming functions in my stick. Stabilator auto control, we turn that on. Engine ignition switch we turn to normal, which is up here in the overhead. That is done. The fuel selectors we move to crossfeed. So we have a choice of off, direct or crossfeed. They are on now crossfeed. Lights as required, we've just done that. And now I can push the start of one button. So here we go, starting up our wonderful MH-60 Seahawk. In we go. So turbine gas temperature for engine 1 must be less than 80 degrees. It is less than 80. In fact, it's still the same as turbine 2, so okay. We can move the position control, sorry, the power control lever then for engine 1 can come to idle, which I cannot get from the angle, so let's do it from up here. You move to idle. Listen to that sound, yes. Start the timer here as well. I'll let that go for a minute. Well, there's a minute, and I see the TGTs just come down, and looks like we're stable there with our turbine speed at 78, and all of our temperatures and pressures are in the green. So we can get our number 2 starter in. Are we below 80? We most certainly are. Forward into idle. It's a full FADEX system, so I can largely relax. Take a pretty hands-off approach to this. Oh, looks like we've already stabilized there, so we are within limits here. We are matched within 3% on the engine NGs, over here I should have said. The rotor brake is off, most certainly is. The rotor brake's up here. It is not clickable from within the cockpit for reasons of it interfering with other parts of cockpit operations, so I've got mine, and Miltech recommend it so mapped to a hardware button. Okay, so let's move on. So we're all stabilized down here. We can move both of our, let's make sure we're all good down here, we're all neutralized, good. Move both of our selectors to fly. And we will hear our rotor speed start to build up as well. So we're at 40 now, and that will come all the way up to 100, I should think. Fuel selectors can go to direct, so each fuel tank will feed its engine directly. Great, there we go. So that means our torques come down once we've achieved that 100% rotor speed. Good. Turbine speed, that looked like it dipped a bit artificially low there for a moment, but we're right now. Let's get our engine generators on, and on. Did we get a reading for that? Well, whatever the case, we can definitely get the other thing sorted out up here, which is to get our... No. Wonder if that needed to be on. That actually turned off the APU, which it wasn't supposed to do. I was supposed to do that. Engine. We can turn off the APU now. Could have turned off the APU generator. I did all that in the wrong order. But it was started off with me selecting the wrong thing here first, but we sort of got there in the end. So air source has been done. Generator is off. APU controller switch is now off. DI system, well, let's at least get the pitot on. And I think we're done. What's our status like down here? We're all in the green. No warnings. And we are finally ready to get moving, and something I am glad about is that at this point in the video I am now using a later build and that rotor animation has been sorted out. Yay, that is good news. So let me get back inside now, and at Garden Island at this heliport we are going to first of all turn around and we're going to get a bit of a sense of how it handles on the wheels. Do like a helicopter with wheels. So we are going to check that we have the parking brake off and that we have the tail wheel unlocked. The tail wheel does not steer, it casters, but in the simulation it's kind of animated like it is a steering tail wheel. It's not really a problem, it's just the way they've done it. It's fine. Let's get that input viewer over there. I would love to be able to do a FCR recording for you and show you external views, but guess what? When I use FCR to record external views and play them back so that I can cut away and show you flybys and that sort of thing, when I record them, the rotor brake comes on, and so the helicopter flies by with the rotor frozen in place. So, as things currently stand, the Miltech MH-60 is not compatible with FCR. That is a real pity. I hope they get that sorted out. Now, what did I say? It's time to get moving. Let's get moving. So, getting moving on the ground is pretty simple. I'm going to use a little bit of forward cyclic, and I'm just going to pull a little bit of collective. Moving that up now. Watch the ground, and there we are, we're moving. So, at that point, I'm just going to move the tail, the anti-torque pedals in, try not to knock over those cones. Maybe I'll go over here to give them some clearance. Whoa! Now that you've got to say is like a cone with some resilience not to get blown over by that tail rotor. Anyway, let's keep going forwards. The turning circle seems very tight. I think with a tight turn like that it would be dragging the tail wheel a bit, but there's no sounds or anything associated with that, no skids or anything, but fine. Something I have noticed is that differential braking does not seem to work, so I get a bit of speed here. I'm going to now use the right differential brake, and it just stops. I will now experiment by getting moving again, forward cyclic, up on the collective. Now I'll use the left toe brake. It pulled to the left a bit. I think that's because I just used a bit of left pedal at the same time. So yes, the toe brakes work, but they're not differential. Not the worst thing in the world, just maybe something they could improve, I think. Head tracking on, so let's get down there. Pretty easily achieved. Get moving again. Get our anti-torque pedal in with a very tight turn. It seems very flat on the ground. I don't need to use a whole lot of left and right cyclic to keep it level. It just seems to just work, which is good. Well, easy, let's put it that way. I don't know if it's realistic or not. I'd need a MH-60 family pilot to comment on that and tell us what it's like. I'm going to stop here, short of that taxi hold line. Alright, so let us get into a hover here and see what we think about how it handles in hover. So I'm just going to do a two-stage pickup, and that's going to involve just pulling aft on the cyclic slightly, so that we come up on our rear wheel first. This is one of those, not quite that much. There we go. We're up on our rear wheel now, and then Just pushing it forward so we haven't lost place here. I actually allowed it to roll back a bit too much there. And the crew chief just calls the lowest part of the helicopter above the ground, 5 feet. And let's just do a pedal turn over here and see what it's like. Head tracking just allows me to judge whether I'm moving off course. So I think I've achieved that. It's pretty benign and it's pretty stable. And there's no anti-torque pedal required whatsoever.
5 feet.
None whatsoever. Let's come back around. I have drifted forward a bit. Let's
5 feet.
fix that. That was a bit faster than what I intended.
5 feet.
Yeah, just when you're on the margin of those calls, it does maybe get a bit persistent. I didn't really control my forward and back progress great there, but we've achieved what we needed to achieve to get back over here. Pretty easy to guide in the hover. Really benign, really easy. This will make people who are still developing their helicopter skills feel pretty comfortable. And that's a good thing. Maybe the MH-60 family could be a gateway drug to more demanding helicopter flying. I don't mean that as a put down to anyone, I just mean it as a positive, that an easy to fly and an easy to enjoy helicopter hovering experience like this one could help encourage you to develop your hovering skills. This is easy, it's so easy. Like I'm just hardly doing anything here at all. It's relaxing. Okay. Let's come up to our little runway here. And I'll just bring up the... I'll set us onto the runway. And I'll give you a little visual briefing about what we're going to do here at Garden Island.
5 feet. 5 feet. 5 feet. 5 feet.
Okay. Just touching the ground there again. That is... It sort of looked okay over here, but yes, I've not done a very straight job down there. Anyway, so let's have a look over here. So Garden Island, and I'll let me turn the head tracking off. Garden Island, only a few miles long, so we'll just do a circumnavigation like that. And we've just got, the way I've got the wind at the moment, I've got a gentle westerly breeze. If I had the real world wind in, there was a bit of a strong southerly, which was making things a little bit exciting. With that said though, this machine does handle wind and exciting wind with aplomb. Like, you're not going to feel yourself challenged in windy conditions. I mean, hook loads and doing fine hover work are going to be a bit more difficult, but crosswinds and strong winds, I mean, this helicopter's made for it. It's just made for it. It's stable and strong, this machine. Okay, so yes, we'll do a circumnavigation, something like that. We'll do a little bit of hand flying work over here, and we'll see what it's like to fly. Now, in my preview, some people commented that maybe I would be better off trying the force trim off. And so what the manual has to say about this is that the force trim system provides long-term stability and flight path control. It enables force trim, allowing the pilot to, quote, set and hold control positions. Now, I've got a non-centering stick, this old sidewinded force feedback too, and I am a bit unclear, clicking this on and off, whether it's changing the flight characteristics. I'm going to leave it off because last time people commented, well, it's behaving like this because you left it on. So I'm going to turn it off, and now people can comment on what happens as a result of that. So let's just see what happens. Okay, so to get us going, let's do a kind of a twin engine profile and just get up to like 100 feet in place. I mean, what we could do, I suppose, is do this officially and use the universal control knob here to change the decision height. So I select the decision height, then I use the universal control knob to change that decision height over here, like that, to 100. Other options here would have been to change the barometer. which I've cheated and just used the comma, or the heading bug, which has no real effect other than a visual indicator on here because it doesn't couple to the autopilot system. There's no heading hold or no sort of holding of a set heading bug on here, so this is a visual indicator only. And what's the other one? Yes, you can just change the course on the horizontal situation indicator. Okay, so that's what the universal control knob there does, and I just use that to change the decision height to 100. There's no kind of audio or other visual indicator other than to put that little bug right there. So let us get up to 100 feet and do that. So actually, do you know what I should have done? Get the head tracking on, Matthew, and we'll lock that tail wheel is what I was supposed to do. That is still off, that's good. Alright, there we go. There was the two-stage pickup done quite quickly. And let us get up to 100 feet. And this is a flight regime in which we would check our systems at our decision height and make a choice whether to proceed or not, with our landing pad still in sight so that we could get back down if we needed to. We are all in the green. Temperatures and pressures, no warnings. At our decision height, we are good to go. Now, interestingly, the torque with half a load of fuel, interestingly, as I restarted the flight, the transfer levers have gone full forward, but with half a load of fuel, the torque is saying 60, is that 69%? Seems a bit low to me. I wonder if any Black Hawk family pilots would have any comment on that. 69% seems just a touch low. To be in an out of ground effect hover at 100 feet, 69% torque just seems a bit low. I don't have any data to support my feeling. Just instinctively, this seems like quite a low torque setting or reading for that condition of flight. Okay. So I'm already, wow, it's powerful. I'm already at 130 knots. Yeah, so no effort whatsoever. And I can read off either the radar altimeter or off the baro altimeter. Barometric, I should say. And so why don't I just get up a little bit of height here. Very stable and easy to fly. I'm going to reduce the collective so that I don't need to get too high, don't need to get too fast. Just play this a little bit more calmly. It just goes like a rocket. It really does. So let's talk about the way... Now I've lost too much speed. So let's just get a little bit of forward speed on. Why don't I actually turn to face the northern point of the island? That's a good little challenge for us. So let us get in a right bank with a bit of forward speed in. A little bit of collective. We're at 1,000 feet now. We've got 50 knots on. I'm going to bank right 20 degrees. And look what happens to the heading. Pretty much nothing. In fact, it looks like it's going left, if anything. This is a quirk of the way this stability augmentation system has been programmed in this helicopter. The autopilot is not on. The trim system is not on. The helicopter, unlike a manual helicopter, is not proceeding to the right. I need to use pedal, which I will now do. And, well, let's watch our turn and slip indicator there, the balance ball. I should say, the balance ball. It's a bit laggy, but there it is. It's coming back in now, the balance ball, just under the HSI there. And now we're in a coordinated turn. But I have to use pedal. That is counterintuitive to helicopter pilots, at least pilots of manual helicopters. I'm very grateful to the person who commented on my MH-60 preview video. That person is or has professional experience in twin-engine stabilized helicopters, and like me finds it a slightly unusual experience having to use pedal to turn. I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do or that it's somehow lowering the value of the helicopter. It's a design choice that the Miltech team made to simulate the way that this machine behaves in stabilized flight. And every helicopter and every machine and every flight simulator is, I mean, it's full of compromises, right? You've got to make a bunch of compromises to arrive at realistic flight under the conditions or the limitations that you've got. And that is what they've arrived at here. They decided that in order to get everything else working the way they wanted to, you're gonna need to use pedal to actuate a turn. For me, it just feels a bit unnatural, but then again, I can get used to it. I mean, you just have to get used to it. I'm doing it here. I'm achieving kind of a coordinated turn. The real life machine with the stability augmentation on automatically coordinates your turns. At least the MH-60 Bravo does, and it seems to, I think, have the same, at least it has the same autopilot switches in it. So I'll just turn that on. No, just with my eyes looking up there, it was just bouncing around a bit. I'll just turn that head tracking off for a moment. So that's where they arrived at with that. Alright, let's try a couple of new autopilot modes. I'm going to click the autopilot on with the switch, and I'm going to engage the barometric altitude hold. And what that will do is hold the baro altitude at the point at which it was engaged. There is no bug to change your barometric altitude once you have that engaged. The helicopter will hold that point. And notice that I sort of forgot to do it there for a moment, but I have set an extremity dead zone in my old CH Pro throttle, because what this is doing, this device, is outputting noisy, jittery signals, and it interferes with the Miltech automatic flight control system. So I've parked it, I've put it all the way down, not very realistic, but if you've got a controller that outputs the slightest amount of jitter, noise, anything like that, you're going to want to do something like what I'm doing here, which is to get it out of the way and don't interfere with what Miltech has simulated here, because you'll just end up with the machine not able to maintain what you've asked it to maintain. So we're at 862 on the radar altimeter. I've asked it to hold barometric, so what can I do here to, let's increase our height a bit. So I will have to guess on my collective where I want to disengage it, and we'll just come up here. Let's see if I can get up to about 1,000, maybe 1,100 or something. And there's 1,100 now. It's going a bit faster, that climb. Park again the throttle control, and then the helicopter holds it nicely. The helicopter holds it perfectly nicely, and we're fine. I kind of prefer the barometric hold if you possibly can use it, because the radar altitude hold can be a bit sensitive, I suppose, and it will. What's happening here with this turn? I'm just trying to see, my balance ball is now obscured by the stick. I mean, I could just, here we go. What do I need to do? I need to add a bit more left pedal. That's what that's telling me. God, I just find it just a little bit hard and not very intuitive to coordinate these turns. I will learn. I will get used to it. It's just different. It's really different. Look, I've seen other people fly it in videos, and they just steer it with the pedals. I'll show you. I'll show you. They steer it like this. I'll just level it, and they steer it like this, and then back like this. And so everyone in the helicopter would be getting whiplash. I think not really ideal. All right. So although it works. All right. So you choose how you want to do it. Now I'm going to demonstrate to you the approach and hover modes. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to click this button, approach and hover. crucially, with my throttle parked. So the helicopter is going to decelerate to 50 knots, and it's going to descend to 250 feet in this mode. And then once it's achieved that, it's going to go down to my selected height on this knob over here. Let's see if I can show you this panel a bit more close up. Might be helpful. This is a very important panel. Let me just also turn that off. That might be helpful to you as well. So there are our modes up here. We've got the Autopilot on. Yes, I've asked for approach and hover, and I've selected the hover altitude in advance. I've asked for 60 feet. So we're down to 500 now. And we'll come to these ones in crew hover later. So let's get back up here. How's it going? So we're at 0 knots now, and we're really descending right into our own downwash. Ooh, it's a bit bracing. I don't think vortex ring state is modeled in this machine. Not that I've discovered. And we're at 40 feet, so it's just done it. It really rushed down, didn't it? So it started off in approach mode, and now it's just clicked over automatically to hover mode. So approach was to get it down to 50 knots and 250 feet, and then hover mode took it down to my selected hover altitude, 60 feet I put in, and took it down to 0 knots, so to hold our station. And there we are, look at that. Pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you now depart mode. And depart mode is when you're in hover, you can depart, yes, and it's going to accelerate to 120 knots and get you up to, I think, 200 feet. So let's just give this a go. Depart. So pitch down, collective comes up, and watch the speed come up, and watch the radar altitude achieve already 250 feet. Did I say 200? 250 feet. And we should get up to 120 over here. Maybe I won't go crashing into those trees. And so this is a way to quickly and safely depart, let's say, a situation. There's nothing enunciated on this panel, by the way, so you just have to get used to knowing what you've last put in over here. We're still in depart mode. I'm going to unselect depart, and now I'm just going to fly it manually. I could have been a bit more ready on the collective for that. And I will get us back into the little runway, which is quite close now. Get the landing light on. Got that on a hat switch over here. If you've been watching, you've probably noticed that on the input viewer, you've noticed that when the autopilot was on, in fact it still is on. I'm going to click that off. And we get that. You get that the trim sort of doing contrary movements to your cycling position. So that's how they've coded in the stability behavior. Okay, what are we doing here? We've got 100 knots in. Let's get our head tracking on. 100 knots in. Let's see how successfully I can do this. I'll aim for that intersection where we took off from. Lost a bit too much speed there, but let's just pitch down now. Sort of oscillating a bit around the center line, but try and fix that with that. Back up to 100 knots. And the crew chief's calls will be useful here. Visibility.
20 feet.
Visibility is a little bit tricky in this machine.
10 feet. 5 feet.
Oops. A little bit dramatic at the end, but
5 feet.
would have looked good as a spectator at a air show, maybe.
5 feet.
I just regret that. Yes, I
5 feet.
didn't really have my view ideally set there to look. I need to really look over the glare shield in this, or kind of look through there. Unfortunately, in 2024, this bracket here for the tablet, which seems slightly buggy in itself because I can't bring it back. This bracket really blocks that crucial view for me down there, which I'm not a great fan of. But That's just what we've got at the moment. Alright, there's one more autopilot mode I want to show you. That's called Crew Hover, and it's kind of the funnest one, if that's a word. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity too to show you sling loads. So sling loads are accessed from here, the key set, and we're going to ask for a load, and we're going to ask for a double pallet. But before I click that double pallet button, there's a couple of parameters over here. I want to pick it up on my right. So am I clear over on the right? Yeah, fine. So it's going to put it on my right, so it'll put the load over here somewhere, no problem. And 5-second timer, that means how long do I want to hover over it before it latches on? I'll just leave it on 5 seconds. If you want more of a challenge, you can make it 10. Real. Let's just make it 5. Alright, so I could choose an air show flag or a Bambi bucket to pick up. But for the moment, we'll stick with this double pallet. So click that.
Inbound for right seat beak.
Roger, right seat beak.
Okay, so there's our voices telling us what's happening here. So, whoa.
Arm hook.
So there's our pallet, our double pallet, and crew chief's telling us that we need to remind us that we need to arm the hook, which is up here. So cargo hook armed.
Hook armed.
And so I need to go and get that on. But another thing that's going to help us here is hover. So let me get up close here. No, let's get up close here. Mode, hover. So the magenta square tells us how high or low we are to pick up the target, which is that X. The sort of the cross of the middle is us. The circle is kind of our orientation on sort of the horizontal plane, and then there will be a green vector arrow that shows our speed away from at the center as well. So it's a bit hard to explain. You'll just see it in action. So we want that magenta square kind of just inside the circle, and that's the correct height. So anyway, let's just do it, then you'll see. So sliding aft on the stick and pulling up over here.
Up.
And crew chief tells us what to do, which is kind of handy.
Right.
Right.
Right. Forward.
Okay. So I like to sort of line it up myself here. And you can just see it on the hover display down there
Forward.
as well.
Forward.
Because this is such an easy machine to hover, this is a pretty simple operation.
Forward. 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 Forward.
If I can just get that last bit of distance in.
Forward. Steady. Load hooked up. Clear to go.
Okay, lifting collective. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks good. Don't lose your course there, Matthew. So yeah, we can fly around with this. I think, I'm not quite sure what the cutoff is, but you don't want to exceed 100 knots. It could be 120, I don't want to test it, but we're just going to do a little sample here at the base. And I'll just do a slow pedal turn here. We'll just find a little target to drop this off at using crew hover mode, which, as I said, is fun. So let me show you what crew hover mode is like. Okay, that looks good over there. There's that X that I'm looking at just over the sensor there. That X there can be our target. So I'm going to come towards that. And I will also re-engage the autopilot, and we'll get the hover mode working first. Just make sure that we've not going to hit the ground. So autopilot on, and then hover. Still got 40 feet on. Put that up to 60 for a moment. So just check that our hover is achieved. This kind of square tells us too that it looks about right. We'll just get that plane looking nice as well. So I just had to pitch down manually slightly there. Okay, looking good. Oh, I need to park. Don't forget, mate. Whoa! Yes, I should have done that first. I forgot to park the collective, and then that happened. So that's on me. That's because of that controller and what I need to remember to do. So, okay. So 40, let's get that to 40. And now, let's show you crew hover mode. So crew hover mode, if I just get in here again, head tracking off for a moment. Helicopter's just going to stay nice and stable there. Alright, sorry, I need to zoom. There we go. So crew hover mode, it activates these two important knobs here. Longitudinal velocity, so our forward and backwards velocity, and our lateral velocity, our left and right velocity. And it's got some in there already. I don't know how that happens or where that comes from. I'm just going to...
Inbound for drop.
Oh, God.
Roger,
What has
inbound
happened?
for drop.
What has happened? What has happened? I can see things moving around. Whoa, dear. Yeah, that's a bit of a curiosity. Yeah, I don't know why that happened. It's a bit annoying. Let's just try and fix it up. See if I can manually push it over there. No, I can't. I don't know why it got us into a stable hover with a value already here in lateral. So I'm just going to...
Inbound for drop.
Okay.
Roger, inbound for drop.
Try and get us back over the... Using just the pedals just to steer. There's that X again. And we'll just get us back to 0 on here. Hopefully that'll... Right. Okay. Whew. It's just what it's like to use the system, so I found that behaviour slightly weird. Someone will comment and go, oh, it's because you didn't do this, but oh well, there you go. Crew hover. So I'm finally going to enable that. So here's what's going to happen.
Aft, you have over control.
Aft, I have over control.
So let's hop on the back and have a look. Now, in real life, it would activate the controls over here so that our people in the back can control it. I've opened the back door. I would love it if more audio could be let in, please. So that would be a nice improvement here. Yeah, so we can look down there. There's the X I wanted. That's good. And where's the... We don't have... I haven't opened the door. Maybe I could do that as well. That's on the key set. If... What have I got mine on over here? Let's just open that door. Door, so I'm going to show you every single feature. Hook door, there it is. Open that up as well. That just swings open that door there. Oh, look at that. There's our hook load there. Notice that it's not swaying. It's just kind of fixed in place. There's none of that sort of fancy MSFS 2024 physics involved on our sling loads. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Right. So, longitudinal and lateral velocities. So, I'm in the back, and I have got it all mapped onto one of my hat switches here. So, if I click once forward, it incrementally increases my longitudinal speed. Once back, cancels that out. Once left, or once right, sorry, and we start moving to the right. Love it. Bit more to the right, and now we're moving slightly faster to the right. Helps if you remember how many times you've clicked it. Okay, so we're making progress over there to the X. I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, and then one more, and now we just go a bit more forwards. Oh, this is such a great system, I love it. This is a really good implementation. What I would also love is if I could get the hover height onto a bindable controller as well. I don't think that is implemented yet. So where are we at? 60, I think? Oh, 80. Let's get down to
Inbound for drop.
40.
Roger, inbound for drop.
It's a bit dramatic. I wish that also could be smoothed out a bit. I find that a bit fast and harsh, the way that just did that. There's our X again. So one click to the right, and now we start moving over to the right in crew hover mode. Might be able to do it from the door, or the sling load might. Oh yeah, look at that! Look at that! How cool is that? I can actually steer it from here. I love it. So I think we've achieved what I wanted to achieve, and that is to get our load pretty much on top of the X. Look at that. I think that's awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Automated helicopter functionality. Nicely implemented. It does swing a little bit, doesn't it? The load, but I don't think it's reflected in the sort of the physics. And was that actually because I was leaning on the pedal slightly? So let's just pop it down to 20. Too fast. It needs to just gently go down. Is it still off the ground? Just. So if I just go put it down to, wow, it's not very realistic. 0. It'll go on the ground.
Load on ground, hook clear.
So, yeah, I just used that switch to... Yeah, okay. That's not super realistic, but there we go. Done. Look at that nice coning effect in the rotor blade. That's good. And there's... that's not bad. X marks the spot. So that's a pretty good demonstration of crew hover and sling loads in your new MH-60. And it's a change of scenery for this next chapter. We're going to the Mediterranean. This is one of your 4 included mini-sceneries in this pack. This is Piñón de Vélez de la Gómera from, well, it's interesting historical quirk, this one. I wasn't really aware of this. That's Morocco over there on the left. And this little island and rock connected with this narrow sandy causeway is Spanish territory, remains Spanish territory through a series of historical quirks. But anyway, I won't dwell too deeply on that. I think it's still a point of contention for Morocco. But anyway, let us get down and look at some of the weapons functionality on our MH-60 Romeo. And I have, of course, chosen the Spanish livery for this one. Lots of choice in the pack, as I showed you earlier. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to load up some weapons, and we are going to deploy some weapons as a weapons test in the Mediterranean. So let's have a look at your options down here on the key set. So weapons, we are going to load up some Hellfires on one pylon, and we're going to load up a Mark 50 torpedo on the other pylon. You don't really get to mix and match over here, it's just on or off on those particular pylons. I'm not going to put in the door gunner, we'll have a look at that on the Sierra model later. I'm going to reload the Sonobuoys, or buoys if you prefer, and I'm going to reload the countermeasure flares. I'll show you the Sonodipper later. Okay, I'm not going to, it makes you want to feel like you want to click unload all here, but no, I'm going to go weapons to get back up to the top menu. So what does it look like on the outside? Here you go. Look at that. Not quite sure if the flag's still supposed to look like that through the Sonobuoy dispenser there, but that's how it looks like in this one. And there's our weapons pylon there with our Hellfire missiles all loaded up for you. And let's just zip around the other side as well. Take a shortcut, thank you. And we get back here, and there is our torpedo all loaded up on this side, ready to go. So that's what it looks like with its armaments on board. How does that cap work? Does that just fly off, does it, during the deployment? I'm not sure if that's animated or not, but anyway, let's get on board. I just turned back the time slightly so we could look at some night lighting options. We are being lit here from some exterior lights, but let me show you a couple of tricks here. For the cabin dome, that's the lights in the back there, we've got a choice of white or NVG. And so NVG gives you this effect here, like it's an effect, but like you're using night vision goggles. And then we could do this up front as well by using this switch here. You can have white or NVG on the side as well. So you can sort of fly about at night with this kind of sense that you're using night vision goggles. Alright, so that's just an option that's available to you. And while we are on the topic of night vision sensing, why don't I just show you the forward-looking infrared camera, which is called up with this FLIR button here, and so that shows you what this device up front's looking at, which I can steer with, again, a hat switch on my stick. And so I'm just pointing that down and up with the hat switch. I don't know that this has any non-bindable controls, so you actually have to bind it if you want to steer it around. And what else can I do? Zoom in and out. There we go. Oh, that's that's not helpful. So now, is that real infrared? No, it's just a clever effect that the developers have done to simulate the look of an infrared camera. Yeah, that's kind of cool though. You can sort of zoom around like that. That might be fun when you're doing search and rescue missions. So that is the infrared, forward-looking infrared. And I do like the fact that the turret up front there is animated as well. So that's cool. Okay, let's get on with this weapons test. So we need to lift up, and we'll get our 2-stage lift here happening. So up we come, please. Not bad. All right. So we'll keep this reasonably simple, and the first thing we'll do is to show you the flare dispenser. There we go. There it goes. There's a flare going out that side, and I think it alternates. There's one going out that side. So that's what flares look like. That is just a button I have mapped on my joystick. There you go, flares. Fun. Alright, so what shall we do here? Let's get down to... I don't need to really be at 2,000 feet for this, so let's get down a bit lower. Throwing everyone around in the cabin. So the weapons, first of all, we need to just get the safety or the master arm on, and that's over here. So we get a big red light there. And how are we going here? 1,200 feet. Why don't I... Shall I get us down to a hover? Yeah, I'll get us down to a hover. I'll ask for hover. Autopilot and hover or approach. Park, remembering to park the throttle controller so we don't get into a weird situation here. Gosh, it gets fast. It is a far... Whoa, what's happening here? I don't like the look of this.
20 feet. 5 feet. 20
Emergency
feet.
intervention. So that was even with the collective park. Is it still trying to land to hover me here? Where are we at? Yes, I'm not actually...
20 feet. 10 feet.
I'm just going to call that as not working right now. It
20
says
feet.
hover, but I don't think that's working. So
20 feet.
that didn't have anything there, but didn't establish the first hover, let alone...
20 feet.
Oh, I don't know. Alright, well that is now looks like a hover. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so let's try and level that off. And what should we look at here? Sonobuoy deployment. Now, ideally, I would like to be able to have one of those just firing out here from the dispenser, but with a shortcut key. But the shortcut key in this initial version 1 release doesn't work. The key binding, that is. So what I have to do is show you on this button here, and then quickly look outside. So click, and there you go. There we go. I'll give you one more. One more. And there it is, sitting on the water over there as well. There, both of them actually. So 2 Sonobuoys, if you prefer that pronunciation, sitting on the water over there. We do have an acoustic screen here, which gives you these sort of simulated effects here of what it might look like with some information coming in here. I really just think that these are just a graphical effect that they've drawn in here for you. I gather there might be some further functionality when you're using the Miltech Mission Hub, but that's all that looks like there at the moment. So the last thing to do though would be just to put the Sonodipper in, and we do that through weapons, and we select Sonodipper, and we look outside, and we see that in this version 1 for MSFS 2024, it's just not working. I'm sorry, it's just not there. They have put this on a changelog, I think. Yes, a changelog for an upcoming bug fix. So what I saw in a pre-release build where it was working was it just appears, it doesn't animate. The Sonodipper just dips down on a line from the machine and hangs into the water. In real life, I think you can control the depth, and I'm imagining then that it's going to show on another line here on this acoustic screen. So at the moment, the Sonodipper does not appear visually, and I'm not seeing any information further on here either. So Sonodipper not quite working in version 1. That'll come later on. I think they do have that on their list of things to fix. As I said, does not animate, but does appear. But at least it didn't animate in the pre-release build that I saw, so we'll see what they come up with later. Alright, further on our weapons test. So to launch weapons, we don't want the weapons tab, we need the attack tab. And why don't we just get in here nice and close with this one? That's a little bit better. So we need to tell it which weapon we want to launch. We can't do both simultaneously, so let's say I'm going to deal with the Torpedo. So I select the Mark 54 to arm it, and then I've got this lock on before launch or lock on after launch. However, I don't believe that any of this is modelled, so this is not going to make any difference to our launch. So, by the way, I need to point out again, I know I put it up on the screen briefly a moment ago, the weapons in the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace edition of this helicopter are cosmetic only and do not have any functionality. I am sorry, Xbox users, you will not be able to expect to have any weapons functionality other than visual on the exterior of your aircraft. That is just the way the Marketplace rules are. If you want weapons functionality, I'm sorry, you will need the Windows PC version and purchase from one of the other online retailers like Miltech directly, Blackbird, AnyBuilds, Contrail, etc. If you want the weapons functionality, that's just the way this is at the moment. Okay, so we've armed our Mark 54, and so why don't I pop outside and launch it? So I've got it on a key. There is a weapons guard here on the cyclic. I don't think that that's tied in, so I can still launch without that being down. That's fine. So I'll just get it on the exterior, and we'll just watch our torpedo. Is that the best view, Matthew? Yeah, okay. I'll just drop it here. Here you go. Here it comes. Yeah, it just drops down. So, yeah, no, I don't notice any parachute effect there or anything, so it just drops down. So that's the torpedo launch. That you would expect to have some further functionality if you were to use that as part of the sub-hunting missions, if you purchase the Miltech Mission Hub. Alright then, what about the Hellfires? So let's arm that down here, and I will launch one. Hopefully this area is uninhabited. No offense, people, I'm just testing my simulated helicopter. Alright, so let's just have a launch here, and off we go. Whoosh! There we go. I'm right in the smoke trail there. Can't see any effect there. So let me just like really dip down. There we go, we get a smoking crater. Oh dear. And one more from the exterior view. 3, 2, 1, launch. There you go. There's your smoking crater there, along with some other ones that I just flew out there. All right, there we go. It works. So again, that is not going to work if you are in the MSFS Marketplace version. And it's San Diego for mini-scenery number 3, the US Coast Guard base here. It's right next to the international airport on that side. It's really wedged in here, and there's the Naval Air Station, North Island on the other side of the water there, which is actually where our our Blackjack's helicopter belongs, but I'm just showing you this just so you can get a look at this other scenery they've done. Just a nice simple scenery with some static Jayhawk Coast Guard helicopters set up here, and of course they've very nicely put in some parking spots so that we can start up shutdown, and some helipads so that we can start up with the machine running already. So just a nice, clean, simple and realistic Coast Guard base here to help us get started on some missions that suit our new helicopters. Well, let's have a quick exterior tour of our Sierra variant, and it's the one that's most similar to the classic Black Hawk design there, with the tail wheel located at the back and the slightly shorter main gear there at the front there. We don't need to house that multi-purpose or multi-band radar underneath there. We've still got the countermeasures systems here, but we lack some of the other sensors that the Romeo has. Love this Blackjack's livery. I think that's that eagle. Looks terrific. Beautiful work on the paint job on this one. Looks really good. Love it. So these Sierra helicopters in the Navy are used for vertical replenishment, and they can transport people around. So we've got a troop carrier version aboard here as well. I can just show you that once we get inside. And that's what our Sierra looks like on the outside. Again, another nice job here done on the exterior presentation. Nice work, Miltech and Blackbird. So in our Sierra, and we choose cabin, I've got a troop carrier option and a vertical replenishment. So let's just have a look at the troop carrier version first. And so we just get this rather tight troop configuration set up here. Alright, so that's what that looks like. Not set up for intercontinental long distance travel and comfort. And we've got a vertical replenishment cabin here. Let me get that in there for you as well. And that's just all kind of empty there with a couple of Spartan seats there for your vertical replenishment operations. And let's just show you our gunnery options here for the Sierra variant. And for this we need the troop carrier cabin, not available in the vertical replenishment cabin. And so we can put ourselves in here with these MG-240D guns. So I'll just show you what they look like. They set themselves up here in those positions here forward. And I can open those windows with this control here. So door and left gun window and right gun window. And then those are open like that. And I can put in those main guns as well with this one here, the MG-50 gun. So we'll go back to the door. In fact, I think that's already opened the exterior doors there for us. So it's just, oh, it has that unselected those guns though, has it? So I can't have both. Alright. So that's what it looks like on the exterior with those guns in. Bristling with capability is this Sierra with this configuration. Now, I would like to test this Sierra with some non-normal operations, and the first thing I'd like to do is have a look at this weight and balance situation. So just with the default load in here, it's already overweight, and I don't really quite understand what's going on here. Like, the maximum takeoff weight of the Sierra is 23,500 pounds, that is correct, so I don't know why we are spawning in with 26,000 on. I mean, I could get that down to its, I mean, it's all in here. By the way, I just tried putting the guns in and out, doesn't seem to change this. So, okay, I could just ask for that, and now we're down here, that's fine. I could just put it in our max fuel, and then maybe just get the cargo back up to 23,500. So we're right, okay, let's just go with that. We're right on our max weight now. Alright, so with those weights done, I am going to take off the force trim, I'm going to take off SAS2, take off SAS1, and I'm going to take off the stabilator auto control. This is not a recommended way to fly your MH-60, but I want to see what happens. So we're at maximum weight, and I'm now going to try and lift it. So what will happen? Why don't I just get the input viewer there for you as well, so you can see what's going on, and let's start to lift. So here comes some collective with a bit of aft stick in here. How much pedal do I need? Still none. I still don't need any pedal. I would have thought with the stability augmentation off, I would need some pedal. I do notice some, I don't know what that flickering is there. Do you see that flickering in the pedal axis? I don't know what that's about. That is not coming from my controller, I guarantee it. This is the exact setup I use with all my helicopters. There is not a phantom signal coming out of my pedals or any other controller. There's nothing else speaking to that axis. So there is some sort of flickering code in there that's doing that. Don't know why. So I will continue to lift. Remember, we are at maximum takeoff weight right now. So we'll kind of get to our... It is a bit twitchy. It's not as smooth and stable as we were with everything, all our assists switched on. Not our assists, our stability augmentation system. All my MSFS assists are off. Okay. So here we are at 100 feet, and what are we reading here? I can still hover with almost no effort here. That's the wrong switch, Matthew. So we've got 82% torque. Okay, interesting. With our full load. So I'm also, to make this even harder, going to put one of the engines to idle. So with our out of ground effect hover, one engine out, or one engine inoperative, we are allegedly with our single engine asking 63% torque. That's obviously wrong. And sorry, I'm just actually not controlling the helicopter properly because it's very hard to do all of these things all at the same time. Right, so it's just... What's not happening here, evidently, is the engine 1 taking over what it's supposed to be doing on the main rotor. So I'll get myself back into position here and look at the panel. Okay, we've got 99%. Why is the torque at 63% on engine 1? So yes, I can't actually do both those things at the same time. So the main rotor is losing speed, unsurprisingly. Oops, no, let's actually put that on, not off. And also not crash the helicopter. So, slightly, I'm going to call that unexpected behaviour. Why was the torque from engine 1 only 63% when I took engine 2 out? So we've recovered the rotor speed now. Let's move here. So we've still got all our stability systems off, and now I'll actually concentrate on flying rather than looking out in strange places. Bit of an unfortunate water tile down there. I've got Mamu Designs marinas in case you're wondering why the marinas might look different from yours. A review of that coming up shortly. Okay, so I'm sort of getting around just fine without any of the stability assists on. So we've got 100 knots on. Now, what's the stabilator on? The stabilator is still fully down because I've turned off the auto stabilator. I would have thought I would have a massive downforce on the nose right now, but I don't. So I'm just going to say that the stabilator, it's animated correctly, but I don't think it's having any aerodynamic impact on the performance of the aircraft. So my conclusion then is that we're not talking about a deeply modelled, non-normal operation modelling situation here. If I put all these back on, we will recover and everything will be fine again. Well, everything will just be back the way it was. So if I look at that stabilator now, it will be up or neutral, which is what you want for the speed, but the aerodynamic performance has not changed. So that's just the way it is. For, I would say, 95 or even more % of users, that probably will not bother them one little bit. There might be a number of users who would hope for systems modelling of greater depth than that. It might be that MSFS prevents them from coding dual engine helicopters with better depth than what they've been able to achieve with this model. I actually don't know that, so I'm speculating here, but this is the situation as it currently stands. We've got a reasonably tidy normal operation regime, but not a lot of depth supported if you want to go beyond that. That's just the way the product stands at the moment. Okay, still in San Diego, and the one last thing I haven't showed you from external hook loads is the Bambi bucket. So I've hooked up the Bambi bucket, and to do that you do the same process as picking up the pellets that I showed you at Garden Island in the Romeo. So let us just pick up some water here, and it's just a matter of just dunking it into the water really. I could use hover mode for this, or I could just do it manually. It's so easy to fly. So let's just get down to... That's 40 feet, just pulling in a bit of collective now. 30 feet. 20. Now it's just, there it is, you can see it's already filled up. Pulling collective now. Just do this from the external view almost, it's that easy. Don't notice any change in the weight of the helicopter. I don't know if I need to be looking there or not. That's still, I think, sitting pretty much where I left it. Yes, Taug's Hangar does model this. They do put a lot more weight into the machine For instance, the 500C, when you add water into the Bambi bucket, it becomes a lot heavier. Very challenging to fly, in fact. So let us choose these trees over here without me crashing into that high-rise in the background. Hello, residents of San Diego. I'm about to give your trees a bit of a watering over here. Sorry. And it's just a binding on my throttle. Here you go. 3, 2, 1. Down you come. Oops, wrong view. Oh dear. I said I wasn't going to hit that building. Too busy enjoying the exterior view. Once again, I could have recorded that if this MH-60 pack was compatible with Flight Control Recorder, the native recorder inside MSFS 2024, but it is not. If I recorded that and played it back, the rotor brake would come on, and the rotor would be frozen, so it'd be not a very good replay. So that's kind of fun. And again, if you were doing firefighting missions in the Miltech Mission Hub, that is the kind of functionality you would be using there. So yes, that is how the Bambi bucket functions inside the MH-60 pack. Welcome to Kodiak, Alaska, and this is one that people were looking forward to. I've made it wet, made it a little bit stormy, which is just perfect for these Kodiak operations from this Coast Guard base at Kodiak. This was, I think, one of the locations that people were most excited about when the Miltech and Blackbird Simulations MH-60 pack was announced, and that this was to be one of the included mini-sceneries. So here it is, and there's a machine being worked on over there at that building. Lots of pads for you to choose from here as your starting position. What an amazing looking location too. Oof. I think you'll know about it here when it's got wild weather. Let's have a real quick exterior look at our Tango variant, which looks superficially like the Romeo in that the tail wheel again is underneath the engine outlets there. I've got all the exterior fuel tanks switched on, so lots of range capability with machines like this required for rescue work out at sea. And a slightly different setup up front there with sensors, but still a very capable machine, and presented very nicely here in these Kodiak conditions. And let's look at what we can do with flight planning in the Miltech machine. So if I just show you here the INS Planner website from Miltech, what this allows us to do is very simply draw in a flight plan. So I can right click here, I can right click here, no, I left click here, sorry. Left click out here, and I'm adding in a flight plan. Very simple, very basic. And what we might do when we get out here is draw ourselves in a search pattern that the machine allows us to do automatically. So there's a very simple flight plan which I can now send to the aircraft. And we need the number 637516. So that information I use down here under nav, load flight plan, 637516, and enter. So it's found those points, INS points, and now I acknowledge that, and we see those points have gone into my nav map over here. Now, a common problem here, first of all I should just get rid of this here, because if I just leave that displayed here, I find, oh no, how do I do it? There we go, get rid. That's it. A common problem here is that this map doesn't draw, but today it is, so it's fine. So there we go, all good. Often I'm finding that this map here just does not draw, but today it does, so we're fine. So that's good, and what we might also do is look at tuning some navigation radios and how that works in the Miltech. So let's get the Kodiak VOR in, so let's tune. Let's step down the list to get to VOR1 ILS, and we acknowledge, and then we can enter in our frequency 117.100. We had to fill in the whole thing, 117.1, and enter to transfer. That goes in here. If I just get rid of the cyclic there for a second, we can see, if I just turn this on over here as well, we can see that that's gone in here, and we start to get the first signs of a navigation setup made. So let us also get in the NDB on Woody Island. So we will want to use ADF2 for that, because we want that in our 2 position, and the frequency we want there is 394, so we're going to acknowledge that. 39400, and is that too many zeros? Enter to transfer. It is too many zeros, so I'll just try that one again. Acknowledge 394 and 0. That looks better, and we just acknowledge that, and we enter to transfer, and now we ask for that on this side, so we get ADF. Okay, why can I not have ADF2 on that one? Do I put it over here? That's it, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's what I want. So I've got ADF2 over here, which it looks like it might not be picking up just yet, and I have got the VOR over here. So we'll start seeing a little bit more action on those once we get moving. So that's how we tune our navigation radios, and we now have our flight plan in over here as well. And just about ready to go. One thing you'll notice is that the avionics inside the cockpit are the same as in the Sierra and the Romeo in this Tango model. That's not realistic. They have not modeled the completely different avionics set that the Tango has. That would just be out of a realistic scope for an add-on of the scale, so we're just using the same Romeo avionics suite and Sierra avionics suite in this Tango. So that's all right. So I get it. So I can accept that. Also, I don't have to learn a new one. So let's just reset that and let's move. So we've got quite a strong southeasterly wind coming in, more or less straight in front of me. So coming from about that direction. So I don't want to roll back there too much. Let's get that 2-stage pickup. Maybe the wheel brake might have helped there. And let's just be moving back here, and we'll do our decision height 60 feet, 70 feet, 80, 90, 100. Temperatures and pressures are looking good. If they weren't, we could get right back down to one of those pads, not a problem. The sea is just looking excellent, doesn't it? Isn't it? It looks like a good day of marine flying. Looking forward to getting out there. So let's get out over here and make our way out to our search area. And I can see that the navigation radios have come alive. I'll just get our first waypoint achieved. By the way, the points on our flight plan are represented graphically only. We don't get things like bearings or distances to go or projected times, anything like that. It's just graphical on this map only. Can I choose the right button? Yes, there we go. And we just follow along. Now, remember, this is a machine without LNAV capability, so we do not get the benefit of a machine that'll fly the flight plan for us. We follow along ourselves, but we can do it with some autopilot assistance. If I can just coordinate this turn, something I find permanently challenging in this machine. And as we make our way out to sea here, we find that my ADF at 394 is not picking up the Woody Island NDB. Don't know what's happening there. The VOR receiver is going just fine though. We are picking up that Kodiak VOR at a bearing of 310 indicated with that one, and a range of 5.2 nautical miles now. So all of that's working as we would expect, and we've just got our course functionality here on the horizontal situation indicator should you want to track a radial. So that's all working as well. Well, this weather is completely foul, so that's showing 40 knots. We'll see what it's like when we get a bit lower. Good grief. Let us see if we can get ourselves into an approach first and then a hover. What we could have done also is ask for it to do a search pattern. For instance, we could have requested something like a Victor Sierra 5 nautical mile search pattern by selecting it, Victor Sierra 5 nautical mile, by selecting that there, actually acknowledging it, and then that overwrites your flight plan that you had in there from earlier. So then that just goes in there, and then you follow that one instead. Okay, we have done it. So we've achieved a hover 40 feet. Very good, helicopter. So let's just show you something else awesome here, the Searchlight. Look at that. And like the forward-looking infrared, I can control it here with a switch on my stick. So that's pretty good functionality over here. If I could just see what I was doing over there. There we go. There we go. Left over there. I do like that. That's a very impressive piece of capability in this machine. So with our hover established, we could put ourselves into crew hover. Just checking that these are zeroed. Yes. Put ourselves in the crew hover.
Aft, you have over control.
Aft, I have over control.
Oh, those waves look terrible. And also, we should not forget that the wipers are fully functional in MSFS 2024. Have I just turned those on there? Yes, there we go. Love that. Love that. Good work, Miltech and Blackbird. That's great. So, just popping into the back here, and we have the door, which once again doesn't let in sounds just yet. I hope they can fix that. This here, I think, is just... don't know why that tooltip was flying around. Okay, that was... haven't seen that before. So that is just cosmetic, that stretcher. So what we could do up here is we could arm the rescue hoist. Is that up? Yes. And we can then operate that from here. I've got that on a switch.
Hoist coming down.
So crew chief announces that the hoist is coming down.
Cable down.
It's just got a bit of a draw distance issue. This again is on the change log for the update that's coming up. So just depending on where I look at it, sometimes it winks out of existence. Not ideal. So does look impressive though. Look at that. So when you are in the Miltech mission hub and you've got a search and rescue mission, that's slightly disconcerting how that winks in and out of existence. This is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be dropping in that rescue hoist there to pick up your people to rescue. And again, with the crew hover mode on, you can use the incremental switches. I'm just moving it right now. And aft, you can just see the way the rain moves, that I'm moving it forward. Now I'm moving it forwards and forwards faster. You can just see the progress compared to the raindrops hitting the water there. Wow, what a scene. What a scene. So let's bring the hook up.
Hoist coming up.
There we go. Hoist is up. We will close that door. And we will imagine that we have successfully completed our rescue. And you can do something like this with the navigation. You can in the search patterns area, you can advance this down to return to base, acknowledge, just get rid of the search pattern off there now, and then that's taking you directly back to base. And this also is something that you can do when it announces that you're on bingo fuel. Not quite sure what's happened to my engines here. Everything's normal up here, and yet I've got one NP showing 102 and 194, and I've got rotor on 112 for reasons that aren't clear to me. Okay. So, right, so, yes, so when bingo fuel is hit, that is when it's time to go back to base, you can use that to draw you a line back to your base. And you can set a new base point as well using the key set as well under nav. Base update, that's what it's called. So I won't click that now because that will lose this point that I've got. Wow, this video has been an odyssey. Over a week for me to put it all together, and it's my longest video yet. Sorry, I really hope it has helped you out though. And you know what, it would mean so much if you would subscribe and catch more of my helicopter content for MSFS 2024. So let me break down this MH-60 pack from Miltech Simulations and Blackbird Simulations. This is ambitious, this is feature-packed, and it's aimed squarely at mass market appeal, which it undoubtedly has. Sound. Echo 19's audio work is perfect. Authentic UH-60 recordings give the helicopter real presence. It really lifts the whole experience, especially given some of the systems have been simplified. I just need to see when opening that door from the inside that the exterior audio comes in. The exterior modeling, it's just so great. If I could put aside the medium res textures, the underlying 3D work shines really from every angle. The interior cockpit visuals, solid as well. Great attention to aesthetics. It looks great inside the cockpit. Now, talking about handling and flight dynamics, this machine is just a joy to fly in hover. It's stable, it's predictable, and it's just genuinely so much fun to operate. For seasoned heli simmers though, cruise flight does take some getting used to. The automatic flight control system can feel unintuitive at first, but once you adapt, smooth flight is achievable. Now, this isn't a deep study level simulation. Some areas like one engine inoperative aren't really fully modeled, but then other areas, things like what they've done in the key set, it's just clever. You've got easy access to everything you can customize. Just be warned though, you may encounter bugs like strange engine readings, and then hover mode has just dropped me into the ocean a couple of times. My tip, disable crash detection for a smooth experience. From water drops to hoist operations, the built-in functionality is so clever, but it does feel like it needs the Miltech mission hub to really shine. So consider if this is a US $38 standalone purchase, or actually if it's more like a $53 combo purchase if you include the mission hub as well. Now, I've packed in as much detail as I could into this review, and I really hope it helps you get the most out of this pack. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I do look forward to catching you in another video real soon. So, I'll see you later.